said that I'm bad as hell. How the fuck she know she only looking at herself? So-called love affair, but in it I can never tell.
Hello, my name is Khadijah, aka Keisha, and welcome back to my channel. So today we are going to talk about all the books I read in January. It's currently January 31st. I am still reading House of Flame and Shadow. I do not think I will get through it today. I'm about 50% through, so that won't be included. It'll be in next month's. But for this month, I read 10 books, and some of them were thick books. Like, I'm so excited. I did so good, and I read so much. So let's just go ahead and get into it. First, I want to start out with, I read Cherished by Amelia Emerson. I received an ARC, or an advanced reader's copy of this, and it was so good. I gave this 5 stars. My first book of 2024 was a 5-star read. Also, side note, I'm sorry if you guys can hear things falling or a shower running. The kids' bathroom is right behind this wall, and somebody's taking a shower right now, so ignore that. So essentially, this book is about Weston. She is an Omega, and she is dealing with chronic pain. Now, her pain has been dismissed by doctors and her uncles. When she does meet her pack, she does have 3 alphas and 1 beta. So we have Bear, who owns a motorcycle shop. We have Gray, who's an alpha, who is eventually hired to be her bodyguard, as someone is sending her like stalkerish letters and leaving them in her mailbox and talking about how they want to be with her. And then we also have Liam, who's actually a nurse, and he treats her one of the times that Gray makes her go to the hospital. And then we have Henry, who is a beta, and he's actually a lawyer who she meets working with her friends, trying to change the laws of the government, basically. One thing is, they all kind of had to come together for her and meet for the first time. And I found that I like when the pack is already established and then our Omega or Beta or whoever is like meeting their pack. So that was a little different. But overall, again, I did give this 5 stars. I love that. Some things that were different is she was actually a sex worker starting out because she did not have really any way to work other than the bakery. Her uncles were trying to get her to pay rent or like threatening her that they would kick her out if she didn't help with the bills. They were really just taking advantage of her. And she did what she had to do, honestly. And I like that there wasn't like a ton of shame in the book. Like, of course, she didn't want to do it, but she needed to do what she needed to do. And I think Amelia does a really great job of like outlining that in the story and not making it seem like, you know, she's a horrible person for having to do this. Some of the tropes I have is chronic illness rep. She has a really good group of girlfriends, and a couple of the times I was just like laughing out loud. I absolutely loved it. We have a bodyguard romance, and then there's also daddy kink and degradation kink that shows up in this. This book is an Omegaverse with a pack, so it's very spicy. It is very, very spicy. And I will say, it did get to be a bit much for me. Like, there was just a lot of spice scenes, which is fine. I just don't think it was really what I was looking for at the time I was like reading it, but it was still really good and heartfelt. And the plot beyond that was still very good, in my opinion. There are some trigger warnings: attempted suicide, infertility, attempted sexual assault, and drug use. There is also a huge spoiler that is a trigger warning. So I am just going to give you a couple minutes. Please skip ahead if you don't want to hear the spoiler, because I don't want to spoil anyone on this book. But I do think it's important to at least mention that it was in there. So we'll give you guys some time. Okay, so I'm going to put a spoiler warning on here, but there is a spoiler for cancer/tumor. So, okay, we're done with that one. All done with that spoiler. Now, let's get into P.S. You're Intolerable by Julia Wolf. I love this book. I will actually say it was, it's close. If not my favorite, it was second favorite book of the month. I absolutely love this. We have Elliot, who is the main male character, and then we also have Catherine, who is our female main character. Now, Catherine is working as an assistant for Elliot. Elliot is a CEO, and she goes there working as she is pregnant. Now, Elliot doesn't realize at first that she's pregnant until one of his friends mentions it. And then he was kind of a jerk before, but then he goes about it like he starts getting her a new chair, so he gets everyone in the office new chairs. He just starts doing little things that like make her recognize that he's trying, and he's, acknowledging that she's pregnant and everything. He also is like super particular in how he likes the job done, so he will ask her to write out his schedule every day, even though they have like email and everything else, and it's on his calendar. He wants her to write out his schedule every day, so she does, but he's just so rude to her and just says things so bluntly and blatantly that she, like, every day on the bottom she'll write like, P.S. you're intolerable, P.S. I hope the other side of your pillow is always warm, like these little digs that she then rips off and just keeps, and that's her way of like expressing her frustration with him. But eventually, pretty quickly, we get to the part where she has her baby. Now, her baby's father is not in the picture. He was just a friend. They were remodeling a house, and he actually decided to go back to Australia and kind of just leave her hanging with the baby and the house that is halfway remodeled. And he did also, kind of steal from her as well. Really messed up. So that happens. And so she has her baby, and it's just her. Her parents aren't really in the picture at all. And she's trying to take care of her daughter. She's new mom, first time mom. She's tired. Her home is in shambles, basically. Elliot really misses her as his assistant. He says, like she was the best assistant he ever had. So he then finds her, goes to her house, just check up on her or grab something for work. And he kind of sees her home, and he's like, you guys can't stay here. Come live with me. And so basically they go stay with him. We have forced proximity in there. We have a possessive hero. Also have single mom, pregnant mom, grumpy sunshine, billionaire romance. There's not really a third act breakup. There's more of like a little argument maybe, or like a fight or a disagreement, but there's no breakup. And they have really good communication. Again, I really love this book. It was definitely absolutely 5 stars. And next, I read a fanfic called In Silence and Submission. This was a Hermione fanfic. I gave this also 5 stars. And Hermione had been struggling with anxiety and panic disorder. This is after the war. And essentially, everyone is friends, like Harry, Hermione, Blaise, Theo, Draco, Pansy. They're all friends. Blaise is dating Ginny. Harry is dating Pansy. Hermione had a bad breakup with Ron, so they're no longer together. Theo is with Charlie Weasley. And it's just a really fun story. Essentially, this is BDSM. Hermione has anxiety and like panic disorder. Ron crashes one of their friends' nights out, and she is like, I have to get out of here, I have to leave. She kind of starts to panic. Well, Draco then puts his hand like on her shoulder, and he's like, sit. He's like, calm down. And he's using his Dom voice on her, which is so beneficial to her because she had never felt the type of calmness that came over her. So after that night, she goes to Draco and asks, like, I need to know how you did that. I want to do that again. And she didn't realize she was asking for a Dom-sub relationship with him, but that's exactly what it was. Draco lays out all the rules for her. She signs a contract, and then they get started in their relationship. Like I said, this was a really good story for people who aren't really too familiar with the BDSM relationship and the Dom-sub relationship and the different levels. And I thought it was really interesting. It was a really cute fic. It was pretty short. I'm sorry, that was by Jillian Eliza, by the way. But yeah, I really loved it. 5 stars. Really love that fic. And I'm actually working on binding it right now. So I can't wait to show you guys when I'm done with that. Next, we have Hostage by Claire McIntosh. This is a thriller that I listened to on audiobook, and it was pretty good. So our main character, Mina, is a flight attendant. It kind of follows her and her family and different passengers on the plane. Her and her husband had kind of relationship issues, and they also have a daughter with special needs who had been adopted. She is on the first flight all the way from the UK to Australia, and it's like an extremely long flight. And that is where we kind of get into it with the hostage situation and what goes on there. The twist at the end was okay. But I really more enjoyed like the hostage situation and them trying to work out what's going on, who's taking over the plane, who can they trust, how do they get the plane back, and I thought it was pretty good. I did give it 4 stars. And there are some trigger warnings. Of course, this is a thriller, so it's a little bit more gritty, but we have gambling addiction, murder, and sexual assault, not on page, but I guess through flashbacks. I then listened to another thriller on audiobook. She started it, and this one was pretty entertaining to listen to. So it's essentially about this group of 4 friends who were bullies back in middle school and high school, and they used to bully this girl. Well, years later, they've all grown up. They're all kind of like snooty. They have different jobs and uppity. They're in society and such. One's like an influencer with a huge following, and others have like super rich husbands. Their characters are not painted in the best light in this book. But then we have Pippa, the main girl who was bullied, and she invites them to her bachelorette party on a deserted island. Pretty soon, you know, people start to die on this island, and the story that just came before that was amazing. I really liked it. I really, really liked it. I gave it 4 stars, I believe. It was super interesting because the women like have all kind of deluded themselves into thinking like, oh, bygones will be bygones. Like, what we did to her was child play long ago. Like, I'm sure she's over it. This is why she's inviting us to, they call it a hen party. I believe it's like a bachelorette party. So I thought that one was really interesting. I enjoyed it. Next, I read House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City Book 1. I really loved it. I do have a whole vlog on it, so I'm not going to go into detail on it. But I was super intimidated to start the series because it is like fantasy and super long, very, very thick book. But I essentially did not enjoy it until like page 600. And then after that, I was obsessed with it. So I gave it 4 stars. But yeah, it was amazing. I mean, it was really good. Like I said, the beginning was slow. It was hard for me to get into the book, and it took so long for me to get there. But I cannot deny that the ending was fantastic and totally made me want to keep going in the series. So next I have Not Forever by Evelyn Flood. This one was an Omegaverse that I read for a vlog. Again, I'm not going to go too heavy into these because I literally just posted that vlog today, and you know, there's tons information in there, but this was a reverse harem Omegaverse. We have our main character who is an Omega, Nova. Her parents essentially forced her into an Omega auction after she already left an abusive pack, and her abusive pack is trying to get her back in that auction. But then we have our heroes, the new pack, the King pack, and they kind of rescue her from there. And then it's her relationship with each of the 3 pack members. One of them was autistic, and I did like the representation in there. I thought it was a little bit different thing to add to the story, so I really enjoyed that one. Then I read Cherry Mint for that same vlog. This is a Hermione fanfic. Hermione is an Omega, Draco is an Alpha, and they get into like an arrangement where he helps her through her heats 3 days a month, and it goes from there. Again, I did talk about this more in that blog. And then the last one from that blog was Nobody's Darlin' by Sarah Blue. That is like an MC reverse harem Omegaverse, and that was pretty good. It was kind of long, but it was still really good. And it definitely gives the MC vibes. They were definitely bikers, you know, in the normal sense, or I guess in like the regular sense that they were portrayed, and it was pretty good. Last but not least, I did read Crescent City 2, House of Sky and Breath, and I loved it. It was pretty entertaining. It kept me engaged. It is book 2, so I'm not gonna say much. That ending really just sunk its claws into me, and I am a sucker for that series. I will definitely be continuing on. Obviously, I'm reading House of Flame and Shadow and loving it, but that book was really great. I loved it a lot more than the first book, I would say. So I did end up giving that one 5 stars. So those are all the books I read this month. I'm really happy with that because this is kind of a normal reading month, but a lot of the books I read were so thick. Like, I got through a lot of pages, and I'm really excited about it. So please leave a comment down below. I'd love to hear what you guys read this month. What was your favorite book this month? Again, my favorite was probably P.S. You're Intolerable or House of Sky and Breath. Both of them I really, really love. So please feel free to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification so that you're notified the next time I post, and I will see you guys next time.